Welcome to the deep dive. Get ready to pour yourself into this one.
Ah, nice one.
We're diving into a really interesting stack of material you shared with us. We've got articles, notes, research.
Yep. All about bringing that beautiful, evocative world of wine right into your home.
Specifically through color, which is such a cool angle.
That's right. So our mission in this deep dive is basically to take all that stuff and boil it down.
Get to the good stuff.
Exactly. Find the most valuable insights on how you can actually use these wine-inspired colors in your decor.
Think of it as like your shortcut, a way to add depth, sophistication, and honestly, just real warmth to your space.
Yeah, a definite shortcut to understanding that.
And it makes so much sense, doesn't it, when you really think about it? Have you ever just, looked at your favorite glass of wine?
Oh, totally.
Maybe that really deep burgundy or like a glowing rosé
Yeah.
and thought, wow, that color.
Imagine that on my walls.
Yes. Or even just a chair. Right. Well, turns out that's exactly what this research digs into. You're definitely not alone in thinking that.
Not at all. And the material you gave us, it makes a really compelling case for why these specific colors work so well.
Okay, let's unpack that then.
Yeah.
Why these colors? Why wine colors? What makes them so effective in, like, setting a mood?
Well, at their core, these wine palettes, they seem to tap into something almost primal, comfort, richness.
Okay.
They just instantly create an atmosphere. We saw in the research that whether you want something super cozy and intimate or maybe more dramatic and sophisticated,
These colors can do it.
they're incredibly powerful tools for that, yeah.
It feels really tied to emotion, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like the colors themselves carry a certain weight,
Or maybe
lightness.
exactly, that came through strongly. Those deep burgundies, the merlots, the descriptions were all about evoking passion, warmth, even this sense of a luxurious enclosure.
Like a warm hug for a room.
Sort of, yeah, that's a good way to put it. But then you look at the lighter rosé tones.
And it's completely different.
Totally. Suggest something more like playful romance or softness, a kind of gentle, open welcome.
And the material really hammered home how versatile they are.
Yes, that was a huge theme. These colors aren't just for, painting the whole room, although they can be.
Right? They work as anchor colors or accents.
Precisely. You can go big with a full room or a dramatic feature wall, or just bring them in subtly with accessories.
And what about longevity? Trends come and go so fast.
That's another really compelling point from the research. Their timelessness. Unlike, say, some super bright, trendy color that feels dated in a year.
Like avocado green kitchens back in the day.
Exactly. These wine hues, they just have this classic quality. They feel right year after year. They don't really seem to age badly.
They feel very grounded somehow. Natural. Did the research mention how they pair with other materials? Because that seems important.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It highlighted how naturally they work with common decor elements.
Yeah.
Gold and brass fixtures, for example.
Oh, nice.
They just sing against the deeper reds. They look really opulent.
Mm-hmm.
And natural wood tones
That makes sense.
creates this perfect earthy balance, feels both rich and somehow relaxed at the same time.
And they work all year, not just a cozy winter thing.
That's what the material suggests. They feel cozy when it's cold, obviously, but they still feel relevant and rich, even in summer. Pretty versatile.
Okay, so if you really want to make a statement, one approach that jumped out was the whole Merlot walls idea.
Ah, yes, the Merlot walls. There's something undeniably dramatic about that, isn't there? And sophisticated.
Definitely makes an impact.
The research described it as creating an instant cocoon effect, which I thought was interesting.
A coon effect. So luxurious, but also comforting.
Exactly. Ideal for spaces where you gather, like a living room, or where you want to relax deeply, maybe a bedroom or library.
But okay, painting a whole room that deep, that might feel like a big leap for some people.
Absolutely. And the research acknowledged that. So we learned starting with just an accent wall is a fantastic alternative.
Get the drama, less commitment.
Precisely. You get that impact without, making the whole space feel heavy if you're nervous about it.
Where did it suggest using an accent wall like that?
Good candidates mentioned were dining rooms, great for atmosphere home libraries, powder rooms are perfect for drama, or even the primary bedroom. Places where mood is key.
Okay, say you go for it, Merlot wall, or maybe the whole room. How do you keep it balanced, make it look intentional and not just dark?
Right. Good question. The guidance was clear. Use lighter elements for contrast. Think creamy white or ivory for the trim and ceiling.
To sort of frame it.
Yeah, it brightens the edges, lifts the whole thing. dark wood furniture complements the depth beautifully.
And textures?
Leather accents add a great textural counterpoint. And those brass or gold fixtures we mentioned, they really pop against that deep background, adds a touch of glamour.
Got it. Now, a crucial point that kept coming up. Lighting.
Oh, absolutely critical. Especially
Okay.
with those deeper shades like Merlot, you need adequate light.
Otherwise, it feels like a cave, right?
Yeah.
The research actually used that word.
It did, cave-like.
Yeah.
So you need multiple layers of light. Don't just rely on one overhead fixture. Think lamps, maybe wall sconces.
Spread the light around.
Exactly. And also consider the paint finish. That matters too.
How so?
Well, a matte finish gives a very modern, sophisticated feel, while a finish with a bit of sheen, like eggshell or satin, can add a touch of traditional glamour and reflect a little more light.
Interesting detail. Okay, let's shift gears to the softer side of the vineyard. Rosé accents.
Yes, rosé-inspired hues. These offer a much gentler way into this whole palette.
Less intense for sure.
Much less. Think blush tones, adding warmth and color without that same deep saturation of the reds.
There's that phrase used in the material calling its ability chameleon-like. What do they mean by that?
It's true. It's kind of cool. Depending on what you pair it with, rosé can read almost like a soft, neutral blush.
Blends in a bit.
Right. Or put it next to something else, and suddenly it stands out as a distinct, delicate accent color. So it's really adaptable.
Which means you can introduce it in smaller ways first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Low commitment ways. The research gave some great examples.
Like what? What kind of things?
Things like velvet throw pillows, maybe an accent chair in a blush linen or cotton, ceramic vases in rosé tones, a textured throw blanket,
Oh, I can picture that.
even just subtle artwork that incorporates those blushy, peachy tones, easy ways to try it out.
And the research mentioned it's good for softening spaces. Spaces that might feel a bit stark or maybe too masculine.
Yes, that was a neat insight. The example was adding rosé accents like pillows or a vase to an office that's maybe all gray or very monochromatic.
Okay. Just warms it up.
Instantly.
Hmm.
Makes it feel more balanced, more inviting. And for the best effect, the suggestion was to pair rosé accents with walls in white, cream, or maybe a light taupe.
Lets the blush really come through.
Exactly. Allows those subtle undertones to shine without getting lost.
And there's something about natural light with rosé.
Oh yeah, it apparently glows,
Yeah.
especially during that warm golden hour light. Creates this really beautiful, serene feeling. Sounds lovely.
It really does.
Yeah.
Now, thinking about pairings more broadly, the research made this fun comparison. Pairing colors is like pairing food and wine.
It is. That's a great analogy, actually. The right combo enhances both elements. It's not just about matching, it's about synergy.
So what neutrals work best with these wine colors?
We saw a focus on warm taupes, soft grays, but maybe warmer grays, creamy whites, of course, and rich browns. These create that sophisticated grounding foundation we talked about.
Okay, foundation set.
Yeah,
But it wasn't just color pairings. Texture came up again and again is super important.
definitely. Texture is key. It stops rooms, especially those with rich or even very subtle color palettes, from feeling flat, one-dimensional.
Gives them life.
Exactly. And the research had some great specific examples. Chunky knit throws for coziness and visual weight.
What are those?
Natural linen curtains for that relaxed, sophisticated vibe. Mixing different pillow textures like velvet and linen.
Oh, the mix is important.
Yeah, apparently. A jute rug can ground the space with natural texture. Even small things like brushed brass photo frames add that subtle metallic layer.
Was there a rule of thumb for mixing textures?
There was a little trick mentioned, yeah. Aim for at least 3 different textures in a space using these wine colors. It helps create that layered, designer look.
3 textures, got it.
And don't forget mirrors. Strategic use of mirrors and other reflective surfaces, especially important with darker tones.
Bounces the light around, avoids the cave.
Exactly. Multiplies the light you have. Super important for balancing those deeper Merlot or Burgundy shades.
The material also gave some quick hits, room-by-room inspiration, adapting the palette.
Right, just brief ideas, showing how the same core palette can shift its feel depending on the room's purpose.
So like for a living room.
Might lean into warm, grounded tones, Merlot, maybe some oatmeal beige, brass accents, walnut wood. For comfort, gathering.
Bedrooms.
Could be more serene, romantic, using rosé, soft white, maybe a touch of mauve, brushed gold accents. Calming.
Dining rooms. That sounds like a place for drama.
Totally. Perfect for that sophisticated drama and intimacy. Think burgundy, maybe charcoal gray, ivory, perhaps a touch of cognac leather on the chairs.
Ooh, nice. And home offices.
Could aim for professional, but still creative. Maybe Cabernet tones paired with navy, warm white, and natural wood elements. Focused, but not sterile.
Now, this is where it got really fun and personal for me in the research, using specific wines for inspiration.
Yes. This adds such a cool layer. Instead of just red or blush, you look at, say, your favorite Pinot Noir.
And let its actual colors guide you.
Exactly. Its specific nuances makes the whole palette feel deeply personal, tied to something you enjoy.
Okay, give us an example. Meiomi Pinot Noir was mentioned.
Right. Described as having these ruby garnet tones with some subtle purple hints. So translate that to decor.
What colors do you get?
The palette suggested was cherry red, cocoa brown, blackberry, and rosewood. Really rich, sophisticated.
Where would that work best?
Feels perfect for cozy reading nooks, libraries, maybe a dining room. The tip was to use the darkest shade, that blackberry, sparingly.
Don't overdo it.
Right. Balance the red with warm wood tones and add metallic accents like bronze or copper.
Okay, lighter example. Whispering Angel Rosé. Classic summer wine.
That one was described, unsurprisingly, as a delicate blush with soft peach undertones. Very pale, very subtle.
So the decor palette would be?
Blush, ivory, pale coral, and sandy taupe. Very ethereal, airy feeling.
Where does that fit?
Recommended for places like sunrooms, guest bedrooms, bathrooms, even meditation spaces, places you want light and serenity.
Any tips for that one?
Layering textures becomes really important here because the colors are so subtle. Think different weaves, knits. Also incorporating glass and crystal elements to keep it light and adding natural touches like pampas grass or light woods.
Nice. And one more, a more robust red. Josh Seller's Merlot came up.
Yep. That one suggests a palette rooted in a rich burgundy, but with these deep ruby highlights. More complex than just plain burgundy.
And the decor colors.
Burgundy, graphite gray, warm beige, and espresso wood. So deeper, more gravitas.
Sounds good for
Formal dining rooms, maybe a primary bedroom if you want that cozy drama. Home offices, classic living rooms. Spaces with a bit more weight and maturity.
tips for the Merlot palette.
Use the burgundy mainly as an accent, perhaps on one wall or key furniture pieces. Balance those darker tones with plenty of the warm beige so it doesn't get too heavy.
And metallics.
Brushed brass or gold were recommended here. Adds that touch of luxury against the deep tones.
And I love this little touch the researchers suggested, actually displaying the wine bottles that inspired the scheme.
Isn't that a great idea? Such a simple, personal way to reinforce the theme. Empty bottles can be vases, candle holders.
Or just look cool on a shelf.
Exactly. And just displayed as artistic objects. A subtle nod to where the whole color idea came from.
Okay, so we've got all this amazing inspiration from the research. How do we actually do it? Bring it to life? What were the practical steps suggested?
Right, the how-tos. First things first. Paint swatches. Always.
Don't just pick from the tiny chip at the store.
Please don't. Get large swatches or even sample pots, paint big squares on your walls, and then live with them.
For how long?
At least a week, the research suggested. Observe how the color looks in morning light, bright afternoon sun under your evening lamps. It changes so much.
That's such a crucial step. Often skipped, I think. What if paint feels too permanent?
Textiles. Textiles are your best friend for a lower commitment approach.
Easy to change out.
Totally. A throw blanket and a rich Merlot, pillows in blush rosé, maybe an area rug that brings in those wine tones. Easy entry point.
And remembering to vary the textures there, too.
Yes. The research really emphasized that. Velvet, linen, chunky wool, maybe a coarse weave. They all catch and absorb light differently, adding those dynamic layers we talked about.
Art's another way in, presumably.
Absolutely. Find abstract pieces or even landscapes or prints that feature your chosen wine tones. It can really tie the whole color scheme together and inject your personal style.
Okay, and finally, back to lighting again. But this time, the bulbs themselves.
Yes, so important. The research specifically mentioned this. The type of light bulb you use matters immensely.
Warm versus cool light.
Exactly. Warm bulbs, usually around 2,700 to 3,000 Kelvin, will make those deep reds and burgundies feel richer, truer to color. Rosés will look warmer, peachier.
And cool bulbs?
Cooler lighting, like 4,000 K or higher, can make reds look a bit dull or brownish and might make those soft rosés look almost lavender or gray. It really shifts the perception.
Wow, such a small detail, huge impact.
It really is. Something to definitely check once you've got your colors up.
So bringing this all together, what this deep dive into the material really shows is that using a wine color palette, it's so much more than just picking a pretty color, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's about infusing your home with that same kind of depth, that complexity, that sense of enjoyment that, a really good bottle of wine brings to your table,
Whether you go bold with Merlot or soft with Rosé.
or somewhere in between. These palettes help create spaces that feel really thoughtfully put together and deeply personal.
And I thought it was fascinating how the research described these colors creating living spaces because of how they change with the light all day.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to put it. Like a wine opening up in the glass, these colors reveal different facets, different nuances, depending on the time of day, the season, the light. They're not static.
They're dynamic.
Exact.
And really, just like developing your taste in wine, finding the right wine color palette for your home, it's a personal journey, isn't it?
Totally. The advice seems to be start small if you need to. Experiment with textiles, maybe that accent wall. Trust your gut about what feels right for you.
Because ultimately, your home should reflect your personality.
Absolutely. Which I guess leaves a final thought for you, the listener, to consider.
Yeah.
As you think about all this, all these insights from the research, which wine color, or maybe even which specific wine, truly speaks to you? What feeling do you want to create in your favorite room using this really rich source of inspiration?
Definitely something to mull over.
Yeah.
Maybe with a glass of wine.
Couldn't hurt.